Okay. Welcome back to oh shit, fuck. It's been a while. Hold on.
Shit, fuck.
Welcome back to Manifesting Made Simple. I'm so excited to kick off our new series, Manifest Like a Boss, where I'm going to be interviewing women in the industry of mindset, law of attraction, personal development on what makes manifestation simple for them as they've built multi six and seven figure empires over the years. So I'm so excited to have our first guest for the series, Danielle Amos, who is a dear friend of mine, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear about her story, her background. It's a colorful one, and what she's been able to manifest. So, Danielle,
Hi.
hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me. So
Yes, so Danielle is a money mindset mentor. And Danielle, I'd love for you to start off by just sharing with us, before you were a conscious manifester, where were you then and how did you get involved in the manifestation world?
well, before I was conscious that we could even manifest, I was a really good victim. So I had been in a corporate career and I wanted out of that. And I was introduced to network marketing. And I assumed that I'd go straight to the top in my company, and I didn't. And I had all of these things outside of me that were the reason why I wasn't successful. And it couldn't possibly be me, Maddie. Like, I was working really hard and I was doing all the things, going to the conferences and doing all the actions, but my results didn't shift at all. And so I was introduced to Bob Proctor's work, and it started to make a lot of sense, especially when he talks about the thermostat in our mind. And I started to apply the knowledge and really take responsibility for my own thoughts. And once I did that, I started noticing that the things that I was thinking about, the good things, was coming true. And I woke up to this idea, really, to who I am and my power. And I started having fun with it, like manifesting parking spots and like the table I wanted at a restaurant, or like a free drink from a server, like really just having fun living my life. And then it eventually, grew into manifesting goals like seven figure business, a chalet, family, relationships, that kind of thing.
So good. So, to talk about, I know you have so many manifestation stories, but if you could pick one where you were like, holy guacamole, this stuff really works, because we know it works, but then there's always the, I'll say, deliciousness of when it does work. We're like, oh my gosh, this really works.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us one story where it was just like, oh my goodness, like so much gratitude and just acknowledgement for the laws of the universe and your creating ability.
So my favorite story is the chalet. It didn't manifest overnight. So this is our
Mhm.
vacation home, and it took we I started the process of writing out what I wanted, like really focusing on it in February, and I had the keys in my hand in November of the same year. So there were a lot of ups and downs, but what was so cool in that is in February, I decided, and this is right before, Corona Shona. So I decided I wanted a vacation home, and I wrote down everything I wanted, and I started to go through open houses and get more clarity, because I would experience something that I didn't like, a house on a certain lake that wasn't quite right, or the lake was actually a pond and it was too small for a jet ski, that kind of thing. So I kept getting clarity, more and more clarity, and different homes would be attracted to us. And I made offers on several different homes and it didn't come through. And at the time, it felt like it wasn't working. But what I didn't realize is that those homes weren't exactly what I wanted. Like it had so many components, but it wouldn't give me the feeling. And so when the chalet happened, as soon as I walked in to the open house, I knew it was our house.
Hmm.
And just I got some cool confirmations, like on the way, a song that we always sing as a family came on the radio, Country Roads. And so we started playing it. We were about 2 minutes away from the chalet. And we walked in and I just immediately had this feeling. And one of my visualizations, Maddie, is opening up this massive door to the outside space, like a
Hmm.
wall of windows. And this house was the only house that had it. Everything else, every other house we saw was like a row of windows, but they didn't open, or it would have like a couple with a fireplace in between. And I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty close, you know. This had that set of windows. And so we put in an offer, everything's fine. And then complications started happening. So what's so cool about manifesting is like, do you really want it? Like you really need to have a willingness to persist in the vision so that all the components can come together. And at one point, a week before closing, I thought that I was going to need $500,000 more in cash because the house wasn't appraised for what we got the mortgage for. And even then, in my mind, like I was like, okay, 500,000, no problem. And I got a contract a couple days later for like 250,000. I was like, this is actually happening. Like this, it doesn't matter what comes in the way. This is our home. And it was so cool to experience, just like the persistence it took, but also to like be in there and experience the Christmas and the holidays exactly how I had visualized it. It was so cool. You know, when you're living in the memory, like that with the
Mm.
future memory that you create in your mind. And like I had a pinch me moment, like, gosh, I've seen all of this in my mind and now it's manifested into the physical. So
Yeah.
cool.
So cool. Someone asked me the other day that question. They were like, "Hey Maddie, what is it like when you manifest something that really want?" And I'm like, honestly, when it manifests, it's surreal because you've been thinking about it so much that you're like, "Oh, okay, we're
Yeah, but it's so
here."
normal at the same time because
Yes.
you've spent so much time.
And I think people that are newer to manifestation, or like I've been on playing on TikTok with this stuff. And the TikTok world, oh my God, there's so many people talking about manifestation on there. And I think people miss the work that truly goes into intentional manifesting, like not manifesting just like a car that is cool or like something that society thinks is cool, but truly manifesting the desires of your heart.
Mhm.
Like that's the next level manifesting. And then to see it, like your family at Christmas and seeing, your daughter Elle, like, oh, enjoying the place, like that must have just been
It's so
incredible.
cool. And I think, it's so important to understand that some things can happen really quickly, out of the blue,
Yes.
for sure. And I've certainly had that happen, and that's fun. And I really think that the quote unquote work is in like the longer term visions for our lives that um, it's about really managing and disciplining the mind so that when there's no evidence in your physical world that this can happen, you still believe it. Like you still see it. And so people around you naturally will think you're crazy, if you let them in too much on like where you're going. And I think that's the really cool part of the way the human mind works is our ability to like use our mental muscles to continue to focus on that.
Absolutely. So, side question, I know a little bit more about your background than we've shared here, but I would love you to share for people who are not surrounded by other conscious people, right? And whether it's family or friends or environment for whatever reason, what is your advice and what did you do to stay in your lane And, like, what did you do?
Yeah. So I had to resolve this idea of pretending for myself or like lying. So, great example is my grandmother. So, like, while we were manifesting the chalet, or the chalet was becoming our physical reality, other people knew we were looking at homes. So my grandmother, like, love her dearly, and she would call me like, oh, like, do you have a place yet? Like, do you have the cottage yet? Do you have the cottage? I'm like, okay, so how can I answer her in a way that is in alignment, that I know that it's coming, or it's actually here, just not in the physical, and it's already mine? And how can I answer in a way that's still in integrity, so that I feel okay with, without confirming that I physically don't have the keys?
Yes.
So it's like, it's such a, like, an important thing to think about,
It
like,
is.
really to think about. So I mean, this was the game I was playing. So my grandma would call and I'd be like, yes, grandma, like, yes, we have it. Like, the window is amazing. You're going to love it at Christmas time, because the fireplace is right there, and even in the winter we can open the big sliding doors. It's all white, it's all, and I described it because I had seen it in my mind. And she's like, okay, where is it? Send me the address, send me pictures. I'm like, grandma, you, like, I'll get you all those details. Like, honestly, we'll be there for Christmas, no worries. It's like March now, April. And she kept asking me. And I'm like, don't worry about all that, grandma. Like, I promise you. And I would just keep explaining it to her. And she's like, come on, just send me the address. And it was that. And so many people, like, especially my clients, are like, well, aren't you lying to grandma? Because you don't have it. And I'm like, and I explain, and this is the part I had to resolve for myself, is like, it's not lying, because I know that we'll be in there for Christmas, because I made that decision and I have that faith. And it's my way of staying in the alignment. So I'm not saying things like I will be, or it, like, I want it, or it's going to happen, because that, we know, Maddie, from Neville Goddard, anytime we use I will be, it's a confession to our subconscious mind that we are not. And that was a big deal for me, figuring that out, like, in a way to communicate that was lighthearted and fun for grandma. I
Mhm.
still don't even think she knows that we didn't actually sign the deal till October and get the keys in November.
It's so good. I had a client one time and she was so good at this naturally. She would speak faith into everything that she did. And she would tell me these stories, and she actually taught me some things. She would tell me these stories. She's like, she's in Germany as well. As Catherine, not you. I'm thinking about Catherine. She's in Germany, and she's like, the customer walks in and I'm telling them, Madison, we have these bottles coming in. She was making like a dynamite spice thing. She's like, they're shipping all the bottles and it's coming from overseas and it's beautiful. Nothing. Like, she had nothing. And these are clients coming into her, restaurant asking for the delivery of the spices because they want to try them. She's like, it's on its way. It wasn't on its way, but
Oh,
everything
good.
ended up working out. And I do think I love the way you said there's a fine line, there's a magic to the delivery of it, because you don't want to say something to the point where you feel like you lied and now you feel guilt, because that's the opposite of what we want to do. But
Totally.
you also don't want to confirm the reality of the now and take yourself out of the vision. So
Yeah.
it's like, how can I have fun? And I think the best thing, like you said, is just to be light and fun and playful, and to describe the vision more than anything.
Yeah. And to
How it's
just,
going to be, what's going to feel like.
yeah, totally. And to just be willing to, like, be mindful of your words. And that's the conscious part, isn't it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of how you're speaking, because when we're out there with people that aren't in this work, the reality is most of the population is talking about so much what is, or the past, and that we're just quick to react in our words and talk it like it is, and that talking just doesn't serve us. So I had to do some writing to figure out, like, how I was going to do this. And
Mm.
it became so much fun. I mean, like Eloise got in on it, and we were talking about like already the furniture we were going to pick and how we're going to have the deck chairs and, you know, all those kind of fun things. But
And
it
so for
became,
our listeners, because I'm sure there's people listening, I can hear them already, and they're thinking like, okay, but like, what if it doesn't happen? Then what do you do? And so, can you talk a little bit about how you keep the faith and hold the faith?
yeah, well, I mean, there's an element where we have to be willing to burn the boats, you know, and to really decide that it is happening, that you don't know how, you don't know when, and focusing on what you want only and not giving any ounce of energy to what if it doesn't. And that's really is disciplining the mind, because all those thoughts, Maddie, are always available to us, aren't they? Like, what if it doesn't? What if you don't have Christmas there? La 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 la. And I could go into all that worry. Like, that's free, that's easy right there. And I discipline myself to choose something different, instead go into possibility and put, like, you know, what if. And it's like there's nothing but that in the vision. And so, okay, let's think now, like, go down this road for a minute. Like, what if, you know, it's December 20th and I didn't have the keys to a house, like there was no house that was coming. Well, wouldn't we just deal with it then and have a Christmas party somewhere else? It's no big deal. But what happens is we spend so much time like thinking about what others will think or will be embarrassed. But really, like, what's the worst that can happen? You'll have your holiday celebrations in a beautiful spot. You'll be with your family, whatever. Play the game,
Hmm.
burn the boats, and not give any energy to like, what if it doesn't happen? And just keep yourself in like, it's going to happen because I decide it will happen. And that's the way manifestation works, because I've decided. Burn the
Mm-hmm.
boats.
And it
Nothing else
gets
is
to be
possible.
so much fun when you really truly put yourself in that place of, I've burned the boats. This is happening. I have like unwavering faith. And then it gets fun because you get to play and you get to dream and you get to think. And it's like, for me, sometimes what will help me is, like you said, I'll say, well, what's the worst that can happen? And I'll explore the worst for a moment. And I'll say, okay, well, if that happens, I can deal with that then. But for now, I'm just going to play and dream and have fun anyway. And then it always works out better than you ever imagined.
Totally. Yeah. And like, if you're okay with the worst, like that's the flip side, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter.
Right. Is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't focus on it. If it's inevitable, I mean, why not just try your best to go the other way? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so on this podcast, we're all about making manifestation simple because the online world loves to overcomplicate it. And I often like to say it's simple. It truly is simple. Easy, another discussion, but it is simple. So if you had to put the steps in three, if you had to put it in three steps, what would those be for you?
Yeah. Well, I would love to say they're mine. And I got this from Abraham Hicks, and I believe it's ask, believe, receive. Just so
Mm.
simple. Um,
Hmm.
Asking is the clarity, knowing exactly what you want, and life, like, trust that life will bring you contrast, just like it did with the house. So I went to see the house that wasn't on the lake, not near water and near ski hills. And I was like, that's not for me. Like, I don't want to be driving a canoe to the water, you know? So, like, in part of asking, it's really being clear and allowing life to give you opportunities to be more and more clear. And once you create the picture for yourself, then it's just believing. And I believe, so the second step, when we believe, it is understanding who you are. So that's where study comes in, and a mentorship, so that you really can believe in what you're capable of. And I think that that's a lot of, like, a lot of our work and awakening, and why we study and we read and have mentorship. So belief is number two, and then being open to receiving is three, and that's really letting go. So there's a tightrope walk that we do, isn't there? Like a balance between taking the action, I call it inspired action, and like letting go. And we've got to learn to walk that and have fun along the way, like be in joy, let your emotions be your guidance system. So ask, believe,
Mhm.
receive.
So good. I think One thing I want you to go deeper on, if you will, is a lot of people have questions about, okay, but what does it mean to like let go? Like, can I just put the vision board under my bed and walk away from it? And I get this question all the time, and I would love to hear like how you balance the letting go with also the knowingness that it's coming and also the inspired action.
Yeah. So there, I've manifested things in different ways. Some things that I've actually forgot that I said I wanted, and they've appeared years later.
Mm.
Trips or invites like to specific destinations. And I put something in on my vision board, and then I was actually in um, a hut that looked very similar to that. I don't know if it was the same place or whatever, but it looked very, very similar. And I brought out a vision board that I created in 2016, and it was on there. And that I didn't do anything about. The thing I personally love, and it's more just who I am, I really love being detailed about what I want and writing about it, and be creating almost like an inside, like an obsession about it,
Hmm.
so that it just feels good to me, and I get it. When we really have things on our list that we want, that we have a strong desire for, we have a reason to wake up and jump out of bed in the morning. And I love that feeling. So for me, I'm not like a person that puts something on a vision board and puts it under the bed. I really want to be like
In the
obsessing.
process. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's to me why it's worth like doing all the things we do just in life. So um and then the inspired action comes, and there's a difference between just acting, which I had no idea about before this. I just did the tasks that I was supposed to do according
Yep.
to what people told me, and it wasn't very inspiring usually, and at all, and the results weren't that great. So there's a big difference between inspired action and just acting for the sake of acting. Inspired action are the ideas, the inspiration that comes when you're in a really good vibe, like when you are thinking about what it is that you want, and you take yourself to that place in visualization, or like even in a conversation with a friend, and then you get ideas that you can act on, and then you act on those ideas, and they create quantum leaps for you. um, Here's where the letting go comes in, is you've got to be willing to take the inspired action just for the pure joy of it,
Even
because
if it doesn't make sense.
totally, even if it doesn't make
Hmm.
sense, and even if it doesn't, like, you don't know if it's going to get you any results, but it's just like it was an idea that came to you that feels good, and it's like, yes, I want to go for that and do that, and here's how it serves other people. And you go and you do it, and you let go of what comes next. But this is what I've found, is when we let go of any sort of expectation, although I have an expectation that it's leading me towards the goal, because it came as an inspired hit, an intuitive hit. So, but I let go of it, that it's like I know the way, like I know what comes next, because how am I like to know more than God, the universe, right? I've got to trust. And so I let go, and then the next thing gets revealed to me, the next piece of the puzzle, the next person to speak to, the next action to take. And I've got to be paying attention, because if I'm moving too fast and I'm just act, I'm going to miss it.
Hmm. So good. So good. There's been so many times where I've gotten inspired action and I've been like, I don't know that this is going to get me anywhere near what I'm asking for. And sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes the inspired action lights you up so much that the thing ends up coming in a different way. And you're like, if I
Yeah.
didn't do this, I wouldn't have been so excited and lit up about life right now. Who knows if it would have manifested in this other way? So sometimes and oftentimes it doesn't make sense, but doing it for the sake of joy. I love that you said that because joy is why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
And like really like keep finding what lights you up,
Hmm.
and being okay just to be in that feeling.
Yeah, it's almost like following inspired action and following joy and fun and being playful with your desires getting them is like a byproduct of just living a really fun, aligned life,
Totally.
is
To-
kind of what I've noticed. Like
Totally.
even the money,
Yeah,
because sometimes the inspired action has nothing to do with getting the money, but you do the action and then the money comes in and it's like, oh, I can live this really beautiful life and have fun and still get what I want.
totally.
It's the coolest thing ever.
Totally. And what I find tricky for a lot of people, myself included, is that often people think that they've got to act to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's like in a society where there's lots of doers. And I'm not saying you don't have to move your body, because I do believe that action and like, and it can look so many other ways. And I know something for sure, that if you only act without having the mindset in place, you're not going to get very far.
Mm-mm. Gonna be spinning
Circles.
circles. Yep. And Bob used to say, like a boat out at sea with no navigation plugged in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
is,
Danielle, what'd you say? Sorry.
and I said, that's so frustrating. Like,
Oh gosh, nothing is more frustrating. Yeah.
I know that feeling.
Okay, if they want to find you, work with you, learn more about you, where is the best place for them?
Instagram is best for me. So you can find me at _Danielle_Amos, AMOS_. And I'd love to connect.
Perfect. Well, we will link all the show notes and Danielle's handles and everything below the podcast video. Thank you so much, Danielle. We'll see you next time on Manifesting Made Simple. Bye for now.